Hey, what's up guys, Zukabuki here with another addition to the Is It Balanced series. This time around, we're going to be talking about the very popular soldier melee, the escape plan. The escape plan has found itself a place in the meta of 6 vs 6, and it is also very popular on pubs, and occasionally even MGE servers over the Market Gardener. This video is going to act as a complete analysis of the weapon, discussing how it plays in every playstyle from casual to competitive, and how it competes with soldiers' other melee weapons. So without further ado, let's first get into this weapon's elaborate history. For those newer to the game, you may not know the escape plan's original roots. The escape plan and today's equalizer used to be a single combined weapon by the name of the equalizer. The idea for the equalizer was originally thought up by two players named Tom Francis and Gibberish, and was added to the game in the December 17th, 2009 War Update. The War Update was an update revolving around the Demo Man and the Soldier, where Soldier got the direct hit, the buff banner, the equalizer, and the Gunboats. What a hell of an update. The equalizer saw a ton of use over the next couple of years, receiving a nerf in April 2011. This nerf decreased the maximum damage so that it could no longer one-hit 125 HP classes. Back when the equalizer both made you run faster and do more damage when you were hurt, I remember seeing a goofy pub strategy developing where some soldiers would run around with the thing at super low health and try to get frags. It wasn't until July 27th, 2012 that the equalizer was split into two separate weapons. The speed bonus when hurt was given to the escape plan, and the damage bonus stayed with the equalizer. To put it as simply as possible, the escape plan is for escaping, while the equalizer is for a last-ditch effort to kill enemies after you are out of ammo and are on low health. This mechanic automatically makes the escape plan more conservative and more desirable to most, due to many players preferring fleeing to preserve their life rather than playing dangerously and risking death. When you are severely injured, the escape plan makes you run nearly as fast as a scout when deployed, although it does mark you for death. Being marked for death isn't all that serious, since you only get mini-critted when marked, and you will be most likely on extremely low health already, although the skull can make you a flashier target and help an enemy finish you from the far. The escape plan can also be used strategically in 1 vs 1. I've seen it used in MGE on several occasions, allowing the enemy soldier to quickly move positions on the ground to dodge rockets. Although I personally prefer the Market Gardener for MGE, I'd say the escape plan strat is pretty common. Interestingly, the escape plan has no damage penalty and can random crit. This makes it possible to actually use it as an effective melee weapon in some situations, especially when you've put out high damage and your likelihood of random crits are therefore very high. Remember, random crit probability is based on how much damage you have done in the last 20 seconds, and melee weapons are designed to crit twice as much as regular weapons, meaning a player that has done 800 damage or more in 20 seconds has a melee critical hit rate of 60%. You've probably noticed that engineers crit with their wrench in basically every goddamn swing. This is why. Of course, random crits are only relevant to casual play where random crits are enabled. My point is though that extra run speed can give you a huge advantage in melee combat. Take Scout for instance. Valve did not make the Scout's baseball bat do a mere 35 damage with an increased attack speed for nothing. If Scout's melee swung slower and did 65 damage per hit, he would have a humongous advantage in melee fights due to his run speed allowing him to dodge enemy swings and quickly get in range to swing and fall back from melee range. I'd say that the equalizer is best for slow enemies who are in extremely close vicinity to you, and also enemies who aren't great at melee combat and are running straight towards you, especially Demo Knights and maybe an occasional scattergun scout who does not know his boundaries. Because of this speed thing, the escape plan can literally be better than the equalizer for the equalizer's job in some situations. The equalizer does fantastic damage when you're on low health, but the escape plan's run speed and its 65 damage can sometimes be better for the situation. Take for instance if the enemy you're fighting is at 65 health or below and you are low yourself. With both the escape plan and the equalizer, one swing will be enough for the kill, but the escape plan's movement speed bonus will allow you to outmaneuver the enemy more easily, giving you an edge. Now that we've gone in depth over the melee potential of these two weapons, let's go back into what the escape plan is designed for: escaping. The escape plan can allow you to prolong your life, since it gives you the ability to quickly retreat to a desperately needed health pack during a fight, or even just quickly run to health after being damaged from rocket jumping or after winning a fight that left you wounded. It's also great for running back into spawn when on super low health, especially when your health is too low to rocket jump and your spawn happens to be huge. The escape plan unlocks so much potential for soldiers' speed. Soldiers no longer have to rely on only rocket jumping and their slow run speed, since they can run just under the speed of Scout now when their health is too low to rocket jump. The escape plan is also used for rollouts by most pocket soldiers in 6s, and a strategy in which the soldier damages himself in spawn and then rolls out with the escape plan towards mid, usually while the roamer rocket jumps to mid with his gunboats. The escape plan has been valued to an extremely high esteem in the competitive community, used by many soldiers between the disciplinary action and other possible preferences. The equalizer, on the other hand, isn't used quite as much simply because competitive soldiers never really think of using their melee weapon to actually melee enemies. Take into consideration the pain train, which allows you to cap points faster, the disciplinary action, which allows you to make your teammates run faster, the escape plan, which allows you to escape from enemies and retreat. All these melee weapons are much more desirable since they give the soldier a special ability rather than just granting him a melee damage bonus. Melee will only get you so far in competitive play, especially in 6s if you're running like a snail with the equalizer out and you have 2 enemy scouts shooting at you with their scatterguns. You're not really going to be able to do anything except in very circumstantial situations. At the end of the day, the equalizer may be a straight upgrade from the shovel, sure, but I personally think it pales in comparison to the escape plan. In casual play, especially on Degrow Keep, feel free to use the equalizer if it's what you like. Don't let my opinion squash your fun. Now that we've gone over the escape plan's brother, let's go over its other rivals and see how they compare. I can say that the escape plan versus market gardener question affects me the most as a player who loves to pull off fun market gardener frags, but also loves to capitalize on the opportunities the escape plan provides. I would say the market gardener is not as competitive friendly as the escape plan, simply because it forces you to rocket jump to an opponent with your melee out, when bombing with your rocket launcher would typically be much more useful. The escape plan versus market gardener debate is more so applicable to casual play, where the market gardener can be a very fun, silly weapon to frag with, while things like DPM and bombing are not on your mind as much. I find myself switching between these two soldier melees the most in casual, depending on the situation and how seriously I want to play. The market gardener can actually be utilized to be pretty effective in pubs when used right. I certainly wouldn't dismiss the thing as just a silly alternative. As I mentioned before, some soldiers prefer the escape plan over the market gardener for MGE, since it sort of allows you to dodge rockets a tad when the enemy soldier has height advantage over you. Although I see this strategy used a lot, I usually find myself sticking to the market gardener in MGE, going for frags with it every now and then if I'm not tryharding. Market gardening takes a lot of practice to get good at, so the escape plan certainly offers greater potential to those who are not good at market gardening in the first place. I would say you can never really go wrong with the escape plan, while the market gardener is more situational, depending more so on the map you're playing on and what kind of enemies you're playing against. At the end of the day, it's completely up to you to choose what you prefer, especially when playing in casual. Disciplinary action is loved by many soldiers in the Highlander community who prefer it over the escape plan, although it is definitely worth noting that its July 7th, 2016 nerf changed its duration speed upon attack from 3 seconds to only 2 seconds, which did hurt it a tad. But with that being said, many Highlander teams will urge their soldier to switch to it if they are not already using it. The disciplinary action was banned in 6 vs 6 as people didn't like its rollout potential. As mentioned before, the current meta for 6's pockets is to use the escape plan to roll out from spawn typically, especially when using the shotgun instead of the gunboats. On pubs, the disciplinary action can be a great choice if you wish to be more of a team player and help slower classes roll out from spawn at the beginning of each round. It's used the same exact way in Highlander. The escape plan versus disciplinary action is basically a choice between being more of a team player or more of an independent player. One possible strategy is using the whip at the very beginning of each round for your first life, and then switching away from it after you die. Don't feel forced to use the disciplinary action on pubs though, because your melee weapon should be up to you. I must admit that I've probably used the disciplinary action twice in casual, although after doing this research, I think I'm going to give the sucker a try more often. The half-zatoichi doesn't really see that much competitive use because, as I mentioned before, melee weapons that are designed for actually hitting enemies aren't as desirable to competitive soldiers who prefer a melee weapon that gives them a special ability. The half-zatoichi restores health on kill, but a competitive soldier is typically not going to be going for melee kills unless they're in a super bleak situation. You also have to take into consideration the market gardener, as that melee weapon allows you to do more damage, although it may be more of a challenge and you might not have enough health to rocket jump. But more importantly, you also must take the equalizer into consideration since we're talking about melee weapons designed for last-ditch efforts. The half-zatoichi does allow you to build uber since it does self-damage when put away before getting a kill with it, although a soldier can just do this with his rocket launcher. With all this being considered, I think the escape plan beats the half-zatoichi in most regards, but of course, as I've said several times, in casual doesn't matter, use what you like. The half-zatoichi might be really good for degrowth keep if you're playing soldier, and I must also admit I've seen it used a few times in TF2 center lobbies, but honestly I feel like the half-zatoichi is kind of more of a demo man weapon. Last but not least, we have the Pain Train. The Pain Train allows its users to cap control points at the speed of a scout at the cost of a 10% bullet damage vulnerability penalty. A sniper's uncharged headshot will do 165 damage to you rather than 150, a scout's scattergun meat shot will do around 5 to 12 more damage to you, and a heavy's minigun will be able to chew through you 10% faster. This is naming just a few of the more prominent bullet sources that will affect you. When comparing the escape plan to the Pain Train, you will notice that the weapons are pretty opposite. The escape plan allows you to prolong your life by escaping enemies, when the Pain Train allows you to be more aggressive and cap faster while you take slightly more damage from enemies. I believe the Pain Train is more commonly used by demos in competitive play, since Demo Man doesn't have anything that can reliably prolong his life like the escape plan. Imagine how insane it would be if Demo could use the escape plan too. Playing soldier on pubs, I myself occasionally switch to the Pain Train as soldier in certain situations where the point needs to be capped quickly, although I never really keep it equipped for long. If you're playing Koth or CP, you can find the Pain Train useful for soldier occasionally, although I think the escape plan is kind of a more reliable choice. Experiment around and see what you like. Remember, you don't have to use a definitive loadout. If you want to, switch your weapons around to address the situation at hand. In its current state, I must say that I do not personally think the escape plan is exactly overpowered, although that is extremely debatable. I very well may be biased since I use it so much, and jaded from how much the thing is used. Yes, it's extremely reliable and a very strong choice in almost every situation, but I'm not sure if it deserves a nerf. Many harshly criticize the thing since Soldier is already an extremely powerful class as is, and they believe that Soldier therefore doesn't need anything to help him prolong his life. I think this is a really interesting debate, and I'm curious to hear what you guys think in the comments below. Is the escape plan overpowered? Is it the best melee for Soldier? Is it better than the equalizer? And if you were to nerf it, what would you do? I think if they were going to change anything, it would be best to penalize the thing's damage, since that could potentially lead to an increase in the use of the alternative melee weapons, especially the equalizer. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, as I went very much more in depth than I normally do with the videos in this series, and I think I enjoy this new format. If anything irked you, feel free to give me constructive criticism in the comments below so I can improve this series going forward. If you're interested in soldier content like this, I'd suggest my Gunboats vs Shotgun video, as well as my old direct hit versus rocket launcher video. I've also done an Airshot tutorial if you're interested in that, and I highly urge you to subscribe if you enjoyed this video for more content like this in the future. Thank you so much for watching, have an awesome rest of your day or night, and peace out.